All right, Major.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
All right. So my first question is, why did you choose the Marine Corps over any other branches of the military?
Ever since I was a kid, I have an uncle who came home in his Marine Corps uniform. I was about 5 years old, and I didn't realize it until after I was actually in the service. But I realized later on that I joined the Marine Corps right then. He walked in. I saw him and one of his fellow officers. They actually came up from Quantico where they were in training.
Okay.
And they walked into where I was, and I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna wear one of those uniforms."
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember because I wanted to join the Marines as well. When I wanted to join the Marines, the first thing that I saw, believe it or not, was the Green Day music video. Wake Me Up When September Ends, when I was like 6 years old. Never forget it. And I saw the Marine on a 50 cal shooting at the Al Qaeda, and I was like, I want to do that. So,
I tell fellow teachers all the time, and I tell the students, like, you got to watch what you're doing in front of kids, because you never know what a little person is going to see and what impresses them.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget it.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So question number 2 is, how long did you serve as a Marine, and what made you stay in the Corps for so long?
I served almost 22 years to the day. I was 2 weeks shy of 22 years.
Okay.
And I stayed in because of the people I was with. You serve with, basically nowadays it's, from high school graduates on up through some of your fellow officers who have like doctorates.
Yeah.
And it runs the gamut of people, intelligence, capabilities.
Yeah.
But everybody has that same desire to succeed, and it's teamwork.
Yeah.
Just they're all together.
Yeah.
You have fun together and you suffer together. So that's basically what kept me in there, just like the people I was with.
There you go. What did you go to college before you went to the Marines, or did you go right in the Marines after high school?
No, I wanted to go into the Marine Corps right after high school, and my parents were dead set against it because I was 17, and I didn't turn 18 until after I finished my whole first semester of college. So I was one of the young guys, the young students, and the Vietnam War was raging.
Yeah.
So it was, my parents were like, "Nah, you're not going." Mostly my mom. I think my dad would let me go. But I went away to school, had no idea why I was there, fooled around, basically eventually flunked out, and I kind of lost my way, had a bunch of different jobs, did a bunch. I mean, I drove a truck, I did carpentry, I did masonry, I did roofing. I worked for, what's now AT&T for 3 years, and I was finally out of a job, very unhappy. Literally walking down the street with a newspaper under my arm, thinking like, what am I going to do? Turn the corner in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and there was the recruiting station. I walked in and joined.
Nice. That's all. That's a good story.
And my life completely changed.
And you don't regret it?
I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
It was great.
Every Marine says that. When I'm reading on the online, everybody says, I would never regret joining the Marines.
No, I mean, it's like any other job. You got your good days, you got your bad days.
Yeah.
But everybody fondly remembers boot camp. You hate the first 3 weeks that you're there.
Yeah.
But after a while, you realize, like, this is pretty easy, actually.
Yeah. It's all mental, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Mental and physical.
Yeah.
You conquer your physical abilities with your mental willingness to just toughen out.
Yeah.
I mean, look at people that are told they'll never walk. Next thing you know, they're walking. How'd they do that? They just, in their own mind, they said, I'm going to walk. Nobody's going to tell me I can't. It's basically the same thing being a Marine.
Yeah. All right, so question number 3 brings us back to the training. How difficult was basic training in the Corps?
It's mentally tough because they push you. You get pushed to the point where you start to realize your limits, physically and mentally. you could train from 4 in the morning some days till 9 at night. And you're literally exhausted. And they'll say, okay, do one more thing. And you learn to appreciate sleep, a decent meal, all the things that you kind of take for granted as a lucky American. I mean, we have so much that we have every day. Even poor people in America, well, when you travel around the world, you realize that even poor people in America are relatively rich as compared to a lot of people around the world. And you learn to appreciate those little things.
And I actually read something about Marine basic training. Is it true that they give you 5 minutes to eat sometimes, like 5 minutes and out?
Well, sometimes that's the way it works out. Not always, but yeah, it depends on the training schedule, what you have to get done. I mean, it's just like in your life, some days you might grab a sandwich or you'll be doing something and you go, I got to get this finished. And you'll stop at McDonald's and buy something needed in the car.
Real fast.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But like I said, they push you along. So if you're the last man in line and they're running out of time for lunch,
you're out of luck.
You might be SOL.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so question number 4. Do you think that the Marines have the hardest basic training in the military?
Overall, I would say yes. Even for the girls, it's the longest. It's 13 weeks.
Yeah, opposed to 10, right?
Right. And we've maintained that throughout all the time. The other services have gone down and then they've now gone back up because they were kind of pushing it too fast. But yeah, the Marines, they basically it's 3 phases. I don't know if you know what basic training is, but boot camp is 3 phases.
It's like
phase
red,
1,
white, and blue phase.
Yeah, well, no,
that's the Army.
It's actually they do first phase, second phase, third phase. First phase is basically getting the civilian at it. It's teamwork. They really push you, and that's the 3 weeks that kind of are miserable because they force you to start thinking of people outside of you, not as much as just yourself. Second phase is involved with a lot of the field activities. You're doing your rifle firing, some of the other things. And then third phase is kind of like that's the now you're becoming a finished product. So you're kind of shining up, getting you ready to go. Pretty much by third phase. If you're going to make it through by third phase, well, actually by second phase, once you start the rifle work out in the field and things like that, you're pretty gung ho and feeling pretty good. But it is, it's mentally tough. That's what drives most of the people. The people that don't make it, that's pretty much what drives them out. They
can't
give
handle
up.
it. That brings me to the Crucible. That's in the last phase, right? The third phase.
Right.
And explain what that is, how.
All right. The Crucible is it's a 3-day event, and you get minimal amount of sleep. You may get 4 hours of sleep, 72 hours, and it's just little snatches here and there. And that's basically it's pretty much a 3-day event that will put you into a situation like you would deal with if you were actually in a combat situation. So if you're fighting, if the enemy isn't sleeping, you don't want to be sleeping. Because that would be bad for you.
Get killed.
Yeah. So they put you into a situation where and I'll be honest, I've been awake for as long as 4 days.
Wow.
With just maybe an hour or 2 of sleep. And during that time, your body starts telling you, hey, look, you need to lay down. You want to sit down. Your legs, generally, the first thing that starts to happen is your legs really ache. Have you ever been really tired?
Yeah, I play football, and after a 6-hour practice, my body's feeling it. I just want to lay down.
And you ever know your legs kind of just
get tight.
Actually, thump. Like your blood is pumping, but it doesn't want to. Yeah. And then you're, mentally you have to try to keep yourself, mentally awake so that you can make decisions, especially once you become an officer. I was enlisted and then I became an officer. If a decision has to be made, all your Marines look at you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm too tired, guy. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So the Crucible puts you in that situation. At the end of it, if you pass through the crucible, that's your last big test, and you do that third phase.
Yeah.
They come through and they hand you your Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. And many of the grown men weep. They're like, "Oh my God,
They're like, yeah.
I'm a Marine," and that's kind of it's your graduation event.
Yeah.
You got to pass.
Exactly. I heard it's, like you said, extremely crazy and stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, let me ask another question. What was something you did in the Corps that you thought had the most impact on other Marines or other people?
Well, once again, you don't think about it when you're doing it. But I've had several situations where Marines. Well, the one that was kind of unique, I had a Marine that I went through boot camp with, a guy named Jeff Stepp, and hadn't seen him for years. We finished boot camp. I basically worked in an office. I was a clerk for the Marine Corps on my first assignment, and he went off and he was with the infantry, and we both did very well, and I didn't see him for my whole career basically.
Yeah.
He did his time. He did his 4 years and got out. He became a North Carolina State Trooper, and I guess it's a number of years ago now. I don't remember exactly when, but my phone rang at home, and I answered the phone, and it was Jeff Stepp, and he goes, "Hey, Major Penczak, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we were in boot camp together." He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I just wanted to tell you. I mean, this is like 25 years later."
Wow.
You're like, "I just wanted to tell you, you were the one that got me through boot camp because you kept me motivated."
Wow.
Okay.
That must
Like,
feel good though, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had finished. He was just retiring from a career as a North Carolina State Trooper,
Oh.
and he was, he'd raised a family,
Yeah.
and he called me up and he told me that at boot camp. And I'm like,
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah. And he just wanted me to know.
That's
And I'm
it.
Like, yeah, and we were
Wow.
good friends in boot camp. I used to push him when we were doing runs and all of that stuff. I'm like, "Come on, Jeff, you can do this."
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you want it. I mean, there's a lot of times you could easily just say, "Oh, screw this."
Yeah. You want to see your friends drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, I always ended up being one of the faster guys.
Yeah.
And I actually took a test. The Marine Corps gave me a test one time. It's one of those psychological tests, It tells you your personality type.
Yeah.
And I actually took it twice, 5 years apart. And I got identified as a born leader.
Wow.
And I was never, I just did what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Stepp, that happened to me several times actually, but he's the one that kind of stands out because here I am thinking about, here's a guy that was successful as a Marine, was a state trooper, raises a family. He says, "Hey,
Remember
you
you.
helped me."
Yeah.
So that it was little things like that.
Yeah. Make you feel good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's you don't even know you're doing it. It's like
Yeah,
like
you
we
just
just
do it.
said at the beginning. You do something and a little kid sees you and goes, "Oh yeah, I want to be like him."
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's
Well, it takes one man to change the world,
well, that's true.
Yeah.
Somebody can have a large impact. You
Exactly.
don't even know you're doing
Exactly. Exactly. So I ask another question. Would you recommend Marine Corps for someone who's thinking about joining?
it. Yes, and I would tell them up front. Like you said you're thinking about being a Marine. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
That's really what it is, and it's a calling. You don't do something like being a Marine, or even being in the military. I mean, to be a soldier full time, to be a sailor full time, it's hard. I mean, they can
Yeah.
literally call you up. You get married
Anytime.
and you have kids, and you're still working in the military, and they call you up 2 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, pack your stuff. We just got called up. You got to get in here now."
Yeah, you gotta go.
And that was always there, but it's even if you only do it for 4 years, that commitment to basically, when you swear in, you say, "I'll support and defend the Constitution of the United States to the death."
Yeah,
basically.
literally.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard when you get fellow Americans that say, "Oh, you're
Burn
you're
the flag."
Oh, yeah, burning the flag."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah,
Disgraceful.
I'm defending this guy, but okay."
Well, man, it comes with Semper Fi, you know?
Exactly right.
Always faithful to the flag, the country, the court.
Hey, you know it already.